Now, just for the record, what's your full name?
Do I need to spell it?
Yes. We'll say it first.
Reynaldo Vilar.
Okay. You want to spell it?
Reinaldo.
Wait, R-E-I-N...
Naldo.
Okay.
Last name V as in Victory, I-L-A-R.
Senior. Okay, and where were you born?
I was born in Puerto Padre.
P-A-D-R-E?
Puerto P-U-E-R-T-O.
T-O.
Padre P-A-D-R-E.
Okay.
That's the most eastern province of Cuba.
Huh.
Opposite to, it's in the north coast, opposite to Guantanamo Base.
Hmm.
Guantanamo Base is on the southern coast, and Puerto Padre is in the northern.
Oh, okay. Cool. Now, were you still in school when Fidel Castro took over, or were you finished and working?
No, I have just finished college.
Wow.
Pretty much finished college.
And were you working full time?
I was working full time in the sugar mill industry.
Sugar mill. Hmm. Was that beets or cane?
No, there were no beets in Cuba. They were all sugar cane.
Cane, okay.
Beets are left for New Orleans.
Okay. What did you do for the sugar mill?
I was the accountant.
Oh. So you were always an accountant.
Yeah, well, that's my degree was in accounting.
Okay. What kind of degree did you have?
Well, let's see. It was a little bit different that as it is here. There, it took 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of 5 years, you got a certificate equivalent to a certified public accountant.
Oh.
So, but you didn't have to go to any special test or different test or an additional test to get that. The only thing that was required was that you graduated with passing grades, obviously.
Good. 5 years. Wow.
5 years.
So, can you describe the things you loved about your life before Fidel Castro came into power?
Well, as most everybody that is born in an island, the sun, the water. As a matter of fact, in these particular places like Cuba, Hawaii, etc., you learn how to swim before you learn how to walk. And it's very open, no harsh winters. So the harshest winter would be Fahrenheit 60 degrees. The only problem with that is that most homes didn't have heaters. So in the winter time with the 60 degrees, you had to get a shower, and the shower didn't have any hot water, so it was cold water, but you got used to that.
Huh. Was that all over Cuba? No hot water?
Well, I mean, it's not that we didn't know about hot water, is that only places a little bit more upscale will have heaters and stuff like that.
Okay.
And again, going back to what you said, the tropical nights, it's a different environment. It's carefree, and as you know how they advertise going to sandals and going to Jamaica, and that's exactly, what we got all the time. Very bluish water, Shirley type sand. You sat in the Malecon in front of the Morro Castle to contemplate the stars, the moon, and just to enjoy sitting there talking to people.
And what did you do for fun with your friends?
Well, mostly in Cuba, the states consider sweet 15, it was sweet 16, and it was almost mandatory regardless of your position of cash flow. When a woman got to be 16, they had to throw the house through the window and get a big party and a clubhouse on the beach with an orchestra and everything
Wow.
else. So it got to the point that you, even though that you may not, your cash flow might be very limited, it was probably better to buy your dinner jacket for the summer and your tuxedo for the winter, so you have it ready for all those parties, because there was one every other week.
Wow.
And another thing that happened in tropical nights, because regardless if you were very good looking or not good looking at all, or look like a turtle, if you didn't dance, I don't care if you were the prince, you would sit and nobody would not anybody, not any woman would look at you. You had to learn. It was mandatory to be a good dancer.
Huh. So I take it you were a good dancer.
I was.
Great. So you would go out, like, would you go out dancing between the parties?
Actually, it wasn't necessary because every weekend there was a party.
Wow.
So I mean, you could, especially if you were going to college, which I was, not during the daytime, but at night. So I'm working the next day. So even though that for some reason in these tropical paradises you can drink a lot and really not get drunk, because you have, since you dance so much, you sweat a lot and it's almost impossible to get drunk.
So no brawl fights.
No. It's like I said, it's the way we did it. We have a group of friends, 4 or 5, and we were not really very wealthy. We were kind of the downside of a little bit above poor, but not wealthy. So we would rent a car. Everybody would put his chair, and somebody would drive the car, and that's how we went to the party. And at the end of the party, then somebody will return everybody home. It turns out that I was the first one to learn how to drive, and
Of your friends?
of my friends, yes. And so I was the designated driver. Consequently, I learned not to drink much, and of course, in a party like that, they never know if the drink that you have in your hands is the first one or the 15th one. Also, this terrific custom in Cuba in which mothers wait for the sons, regardless what time of the day or night it is, until they show up. They are waiting at the door.
Wow.
So every time that I had to deliver somebody, that somebody was a little bit inebriated, I should get all these darts looks at me, like I was the one that got him drunk. And I had to excuse, sorry, but I am just delivering the cadaver, okay?
That's funny.
But it was a lot of fun. And then, of course, when carnival time came along, that was even more fun.
How often was that?
Carnival time is the same time that like New Orleans or Brazil,
Oh, Mardi Gras?
Mardi Gras.
Okay.
But ours it would last a whole month.
Wow. Wow.
Every Saturday and every Sunday. On Saturday it was what we call the comparsas, the people dancing with they call it farolas, with things that they keep in their hands.
Castanets?
Yeah.
Castanets?
No. Farolas means a big pole with lights on top.
Oh, okay.
And of course you go with these people and you dance and that's on Saturday. Now on Sunday is when any open truck, any convertible available is dressed up. That's the only condition. It had to be dressed up, and they block a like a 20-mile round trip that goes through the presidential palace, the whole Malecon, and back. To do that not 20 miles, maybe 10 miles. To do that 10 miles one time, maybe twice, it starts at noon and ends at 9 o'clock.
Every Saturday and Sunday?
Every Sunday.
Ah.
If you were lucky, if you could make one turn from 12 to 9, because it was jam-packed, and of course
Was it as wild as Mardi Gras?
Well, in the sense that the only condition was that every vehicle had to be it had to have flowers. It couldn't be just plain vehicle. It had to be disguised, if you will. And of course, then a lot of wealthy people with convertibles, and you will get off since things are going crawling, and you get into walk by the convertible with all the girls are. You start talking to them and making dates and getting invites to parties. So it was, you never knew. You start at 12, at 9 o'clock, you didn't know that it has happened.
Wow.
After that, then is when you collapse. Boom.
And what year did you get married?
1959.
Oh, okay. That was a big year. So, can you describe some of the things that you were unhappy about as a young man under Batista?
Well, the fact that in Cuba, the Havana University sits on a hill, so to speak. You may have seen that in newsreels, and by law, the police cannot go in the compound, the university city, but they can stay outside. Okay, and like it happened to me several times, I will come out with my car, and here is this police car waiting for me. And the one thing that needs to be illustrated, that the police cars were a little bit different than the ones that in American people are used to. Here they're used to one guy in a police car. No, here there were three guys, two up front and one in the back. The one in the back will carry shotguns, machine guns, the works. It was like a tank. And if we add to that the worst kind of people were the ones that joined the police and the army. I mean, when you didn't
Under
have
Batista?
anything, yes.
Wow.
Well, usually, when you couldn't do anything better than that, and you didn't have any other choices, that's what you joined. So, I remember one time coming out of, at 11 o'clock, coming out of a classroom with my car. I pulled and coming out of campus, and here is this patrol car, and they stopped me for no good reason. Just I said, "Are you carrying anything?" "No, sir, I don't carry." "What did you say?" "No, sir," and I was hit, with the open hand, bleeding my. You got used to that. There was no
Wow.
way to resist that because there were a couple of other guys, one with a submachine gun in their hands. Okay, all right. So they would take all your seats out and toss them on the middle of the street.
Your seats?
Yeah, seats of the car, right. And then when
Well,
they
how do you
went
take
through,
the seats
they
off
were
of-
looking for stuff. There was a lot of counter-revolution going too. You know, for instance, and I keep jumping back and forth in the story, but it was very customarily that at 9 o'clock sharp there was a gun fire at the Moro Casa, and people would time their watches by that, the sound of the gun. At 9 o'clock you could bank. It was customary for years.
Why did they fire a gun?
Just for people to let them know it was 9 o'clock, and so you could match your watch to that. No, but that was since the beginning of time.
Oh.
It was a custom
Oh, okay.
that they just fire a gun from the Moro Casa. But when then the insurrection begins with Batista, then there were all kind of bombs and stuff going on. So at 7 o'clock you will hear boom. It's not 9 o'clock, so it came out in such a way that you never knew what the actual 9 o'clock from the Moro Casa was. So this is the reason the police acted the way it was. So
Wow.
anyhow, I said you can go. Okay, so I put all my car together, and I left, and I'm getting somewhere with this story. Here is the next day, and I'm coming out again, and guess what? The same police car is there, and they started the same situation. I said, Sergeant, remember, you look at me and you do this to me last time. Oh, yeah, okay, you can go. And I failed to tell you that the first time my trunk had a very sensitive spring. In other words, when you open it jump.
Uh-huh.
And I tried to warn them, because here is this guy pointing the submachine gun, and the other guy had a shotgun. And I was thinking, I know that when this thing jumps, they are going to fire, and God knows what is going to
Yeah.
happen. So I'm trying to warn. I said, by the way, the trunk open very sensitively, open kind of a sudden. Be careful so you don't discharge your. We know what we are doing. Well, sure enough, it jumped. They didn't fire. It didn't fire, but they almost happened. You know, they jump all over. And so a situation like that, most of students went through.
That's scary.
Well, on the other hand, since, like I said, we were on top of a hill, when the students decided to do things to express their not being very happy about Batista, they will commandeer trolley cars, what we call the tranvías, and they will throw the tranvías down the hill.
From the university?
And they crash at the bottom of the. So civil disobedience.
Yeah.
And fire and bonfires and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Students were always known to do that kind of stuff, especially the ones in the daytime. The daytime were the wealthy students, and the nighttime were the working students.
So, what, during all this unrest, what was it that when Castro was hiding in the mountains and gaining power,
That propelled people
what
to
attracted him
Yeah.
to you?
Well, first, unfortunately, we were very immature politically speaking, and we have been subjected to a lot of president, government, very, very corrupt. in which to give you an example, to compare this to Internal Revenue Service, you will get somebody to audit your business, and that somebody will come to your office and will say, okay, Mr. So-and-so, we are here to audit you. We figure that it will cost you at least $150,000 the audit. However, for $50,000, $25,000 for me, the inspector, and $25,000 for the minister, we will give you a release that the audit, and of course that's the way it was.
Wow.
And this Internal Revenue Service inspector live like kings.
Wow.
They have homes on the beach, and people got tired of this kind of thing. Not only that, the schools, if you were unfortunate that had to go to a public school, that was the kiss of death, because you wouldn't learn anything. Public schools were the lowest of the lowest.
Ah.
In my case, and being from a poor family, my parents sacrificed themselves a great deal to send me to a Catholic school. If you didn't go to a Catholic school, you had 3 strikes already before you even start working.
Did you have religious training in Catholic school?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
For 13 years, I went to Mass twice a week. I was indoctrinated, I don't know if that's a good word or not.
Educated.
Educated, I think would be a good. I even was a altar boy.
Yeah.
One of the reasons is I like to drink the wine at the end.
Waste not, want not.
And of course, I have a few things that happened to me, like bringing bringing the big book and stumble on the carpet and falling flat on my face with the book in front of 150 students in the
Wow.
chapel of the school.
Including
And
girls?
and created, no.
Oh, it was all boys.
No. In Cuba, that was very. You boys and girls were not mixed at all.
I see.
It was either boys' schools and girls' school, but boys and girls' school, That was it. No.
Oh, wow. So, what did Castro offer the people?
Well, you see, okay, so people seeing all these things that you couldn't even express your own political opinion. You didn't know if whoever you were talking was going to turn you
Under
in.
Batista?
Under Batista, yeah.
Ah.
However, I have to say something. With Batista, if you didn't mess up with him in his political views, he didn't touch you.
Mm.
The moment that you start messing with him, all of a sudden the secret police will come pick you up, and you would never be seen again.
Wow.
Period. That's it. There were no habeas corpus, nothing like that.
Wow.
People got tired of that. Man. We were, by birth, very free in our thinking and way of doing things, and we were kind of oppressed.
Right.
So Fidel Castro, he was a student from the same Catholic school that I was, the La Salle brothers, and of course then he went to Havana University, which I was there too. And the fact that he went to the mountains and he's fighting through great odds. In other words, the little guy against the big bully guy. And so people kind of develop a sympathy for that. And they were tired of all this corrupt government. So it was not something that happened from one day to another. It built up over a number of years until finally people got tired, and they thought, like I did myself, that Fidel Castro was going to offer the solution, because what he was saying is that we are going to come back to and things. There's no more graft, no more the police being the rulers of the place. As a matter of fact, if you were walking on a sidewalk and a policeman was walking opposite to you, toward you, you better get off the sidewalk, otherwise they will push you. Because they felt that, hey, we are the owner,
Superior.
we own everything.
Wow.
Like getting into a store and I need this, put in my account and never pay for that. That people got tired, and they thought that Fidel Castro was the answer, and the fact that he was fighting against tremendous odds.
Right.
So it became very popular.
So did you join his party once he came in power?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I did.
And how was it for you at first?
You should see me in my militia uniform with my 45. Let the Americans come. I mean, here we are. You know, patria o muerte venceremos. That means fatherland or death, we will win. That's basically and to the point that it almost cost me my marriage. Again, because my wife was smart, but I wasn't, okay? She saw through Fidel Castro the first 2 weeks, so did my father. But I didn't believe it. It took me another 6 months to finally open my eyes.
Wait, her and your father?
Yes, they both. They both saw this.
So what did you see in 6 months?
Well,
what made you? What opened your eyes?
The fact that we were working in Havana, and so the administration of sugar mills sent all the offices really to the actual sugar mills. So I had the opportunity to go to the sugar mill and see how people that have been in the sugar mill for years, experts that knew the stuff, were being replaced by people that didn't know a thing about, but they were strong with the party. That's what I started seeing. Finally dawned on me that the only thing that Fidel Castro was doing was just replacing the people that were there with his own people.
Right. And didn't you once say that they started moving people away from each other?
Oh, yes.
Now, how did that happen?
Well, moving away from each other meaning like this. After a while, I remember that when Fidel Castro did this triumphal march from Oriente to Havana, January 1st, 1959, I believe it was.
Yeah.
People put signs on their houses and everywhere. Fidel, this is your house. Not really knowing that almost 2 years later that became true.
Wow.
And the way that works is that people will come. Think about your own home now. And some officer, some policeman will come, 2 or 3, and come in and say, well, you and your husband, this house, 3 rooms now, this is too big for you. We are moving you to this crummy apartment, and we need this house for somebody else. Usually people coming from Russia, Ukraine, this kind of thing. Yes, politicians. And you didn't have any choice. There were no habeas corpus, no courts of law, nothing.
So it was communists that they were bringing in.
Yes,
okay.
He started moving people out of the house, they mix and match.
So it broke up the cohesiveness of the neighborhoods. Then,
Well, basically, yes. Not only that, all of a sudden, then in the neighborhood, there was a house owed, that people didn't work, didn't go out to work. They worked for the government, and their job was to watch the neighbors.
Ooh.
In every neighborhood, there was a house with people doing that. And these people have the right to inspect your packages, to question you. How come you are so late coming in? And you
Wow.
couldn't say anything. Because
Wow.
they would summon the police, and that was it.
Wow.
In other words, a total control.
Wow. So what was the last straw where you thought you knew you had to leave?
Oh, well, at the moment I realized what was happening, well, let me back up a little bit. I had a friend in college, a very good friend. In fact, we worked in the same sugar mill.
Mm-hmm.
And his brother was one of the commandants with Fidel Castro that came, from the mountains.
Mm-hmm.
And he thought he was doing me a favor. I mean, the government needed competent people with a little bit of training and everything else, and I have obviously some. And all of a sudden, I got a call at 6 o'clock in the morning from the Minister of Industry saying, "You have been appointed commissar of all the sugar mills of the province of Havana." We're about 6 sugar mills, out of the blues, and you couldn't say no. That's the other thing. No, that's it.
Wow.
You couldn't say no. And so I started seeing what was happening,
Oh.
And
So since you were in a position of
the
authority.
position, right.
Oh, okay.
Yes, I had the opportunity to watch this from within.
Right.
And so I realized, I said, no, I don't, this is not what I want to raise my children
Right.
on.
Did you have 2 boys by then?
Two boys,
Okay.
right. So I started talking to my wife about that. And of course, that was a big step because you never knew. It would have been impossible. In fact, it was not possible to come out as a family. You had to leave first, or somebody had to leave first, leave the other people behind,
Wow.
and then you were rolling the dice. You were rolling the dice.
Wow. So
but
how did it happen?
well, again, this is now becomes like
Oh wait, before we do that, I wanted to because it is a Christian magazine.
yes.
I want to know how did it affect the Catholic Church?
The Catholic Church.
and-
Well, to begin with, at the very beginning, supposedly everything was fine.